Welcome back to Fewladelphia, where today we are taking on Buril's paper factory, the beating heart, if you will, of the town of Buril, and the reason why people flocked to live in the area when it was constructed many decades ago. So today we're giving the paper factory a history, one of takeovers, redevelopment, and buildings left to crumble. Let's dive in. So we have a major pile-up on Glade Highway. We do need a new name for our highways, of course. That is a terrible name. We've got Jacqueline Devereaux, who is injured, unwell, and very sad, standing in the middle of the highway. Gosh, with cars driving right up to it. Oh, that's like a bad game of chicken. The police have arrived on the scene, but it is causing actually a pretty small tailback on the highway, at least anyway. A little bit larger in that direction. But there we go, yeah. Nothing like starting an episode with a massive crash. But anyway, today we are back in Buril, and we're going to be working on that top section. I do just want to say we did come in with a stream in between me recording this and the last episode, and just started working on this little waterfront strip here that we left bare. Now, we didn't get a huge amount done, I will admit. If you see at the front, that's totally undone. But we did do a nice little park in here. We did some nice quays in here. Pedestrian pathway that goes all the way along. We detailed along the back of the houses, added in a little bit of a blockage here as well. And then also this nice pier section, this wooden section here, all taken from inspiration from Google Earth. And of course a ton of detailing along these buildings, backing onto the edge of our pier. And it's functional, as you can see. Someone is actually using it right now. So there's still a lot more to do in there, but there will be another live stream very soon where we'll be finishing that off. But for today, we're concentrating on our paper factory area over here. So we're going to be adding in some more industry around it and some other cute little builds as well to flesh out some of these areas here. But I do just want to start by having a look at this because we've actually got a bit of a problem here. We're not making a profit at our paper factory, which is terrible. And the reason for that is that we just don't have any timber to turn into paper. And of course, if you have seen this series, you'll know that we had major problems with timber production earlier on in the city. So yeah, you can see here we've got an absolutely huge deficit, and I'm thinking a lot of that processing requirement is coming from our paper factory, probably. And then we're not hardly making any paper. We've actually got a deficit of paper because our paper factory is so inefficient. So we need to remedy that. The other thing is, we scroll back up here, we do have a huge, absolutely ginormous surplus of wood. So no problems there, and that's all thanks to Havenwood lumber, which you can see over here covers pretty much this entire hillside with a couple of forestry areas in there. And now we did have essentially our lumber yard over here, but unfortunately it's really more of a storage yard and not hugely functional. So there are actually functional storage in here. So North Notes Paper controls this one, and it's full of wood, but it's just not getting turned into timber. And we can't really just zone industry. I mean, actually, saying that, there is actually a timber industrial unit right there, but we can't really zone industry and just hope that it's going to come up with timber. But the thing that we do have now is supply chains, of course. And with that, we have the particle board factory, which is essentially a big lumber yard that turns wood into timber. Now, the unfortunate thing is, even if we demolished this entire area, it's still not really going to fit in here. It's pretty big. So what we're actually going to do instead is try and fit this in down here, quite close to our paper factory, so that we can just get the wood out of Havenwood lumber, bring it across here, transfer it into timber, and straight to our paper factory. That's kind of the general idea behind it. But where it's actually going to fit in is the next problem. So I'm thinking actually somewhere up on this hillside here, in amongst the trees that we already have at this point. Because further down the line, we could definitely turn this little section here. If we put on the contour lines, you can see there's a slightly flat top here. We could definitely turn some of this into actual forestry industry before it goes into the valley and whatever we build beyond it, which will be much further down the line. But it has the potential, and it's not too far away from our forestry that I think it's going to be obstructive in the sense of transporting goods here. I'm hoping so anyway. So this is the plan. Let's go ahead and plop it in. I'm going to clear out the trees actually before we do that. So I'm not going to do too much detailing around this for this episode. I think this hillside is definitely something that we're going to need to come back and work on. So I'm going to spend the time doing the rest of the area down by the factory and the factory itself, of course, because we only just randomly plopped that in when we placed it in. But for the moment, at least, this gives us the facility to get that timber in to hopefully get our paper factory a lot more functional. That's gone in a little bit steeper than I would like for massive forestry trucks, so we're just going to level this out a little bit to help them get up that hill a bit easier. That feels a little bit more reasonable to me. What I am going to do is go back in and replace some of these trees around it, just so it doesn't look super, super weird. And I think for the time being, we can just leave it like that. Like, this is a wonderful asset and one I would definitely like to come and detail a bit more. Maybe some sandy surfaces in here. Perhaps I'll end up doing it at the end of this episode. We shall see. We shall see. But for the moment, that's just going to sit there and hopefully produce us some timber. How has it already got 14 tons of wood? Well, that's helpful. I mean, has it made an immediate effect on this? Absolutely not. No, it has not. And yeah, wow, we're losing 52,000 or 48,000 a month on our paper factory. So yeah, we'll come back and see if that has helped at all by the end of the episode. I mean, we're making timber. We've already got 2 tons there, so that's pretty good. I am curious actually if we go over to our rail yard now as well, whether we're actually storing timber in here at all or importing it. We are. We've got 188 tons, but why it's not actually then going out to places like our paper factory, I'm not too sure. So yeah, anyway, we're not going to read too much into it. So to kick off some building for today, what I am going to start with is a bit of an extension to our paper factory here, but I don't really want it to be an actual extension. What I want to do is go for something that looks like it was maybe once part of the paper factory, maybe the administration side of things, and perhaps they've downsized over time. And this area has been smartened up a little bit, like you've still got that remnants of old brick buildings in there, but smartened up a little bit and maybe turned into other uses. That's the type of thing that I want to go for here. So what we're going to do to achieve that is use a whole load of static ploppable buildings to get some kind of interesting stuff into here. So the first one that I do want to use is the terminal subway yard. Now this is a big red brick building, and obviously it looks like a subway yard, I guess you could say, from the front here. But I really like this as looking like a bit of a warehouse style building. Like, it's got these big, you know, entrances for potentially lorries in the front. It's got these windows all the way up the side. I really, really like the look of this. So I think we could definitely utilise this as part of our space. And we could also make this quite interesting by overlapping this fence a tiny bit here, so that actually looks like it was part of the complex. So it's actually, you know, not fenced off and completely separate from it. I think what we'll probably come in and do when we do some detailing is bulldoze off some of this fence here to open it out a little bit. But for this building, we can definitely have that integrated right into the side of the factory. And the brick just goes so well with the paper factory that I think it works. But then for the main part of this, what I do want to do, I want to make sure I've got room for a road here as well. So I'm actually just going to snap a road up the side like that. And then we're going to use some education buildings, because there's so many nice big red brick buildings in here, which I think lends themselves really well to factories. So we've got the Netherlands Elementary School for starters. That's so cool. Absolutely love this asset. Really, really has that look of it could once have been a factory and now it's been converted into something else, particularly with the big square chimney on the top. Love it. We've got the extension to it as well. And actually, I think we are going to place these two in up the side here. So I am just going to grab a road. Let's bring it out around about there. It may be too far over. We'll see in a second. And then we can just snap this building to the side of it and move it up. Because what I would like is this as a sort of entrance way, I suppose, into this little complex here. We'll have this big brick wall going right up to the pavement there. I think we can leave a little bit of a gap for some extra surfaces here. And then we'll slot in the extension onto the side of it. Something like that. And then I'm thinking what we'll do with this road, bring it up a tiny bit, is we'll bring it as a diagonal across here, so it'll give us a few more interesting shapes to work around as we plop in these assets. But the other big one I do want to use is the City High School. So this, again, huge brick red asset, but I love the front of it. So I know this seems maybe a bit grander than an actual factory, but I definitely feel like it's got that vibe of factory about it at the front, where it's got no windows at all. It's super almost brutalist, but with the red brick in nature. We've also got that walkway across here, which I absolutely love. I just think this has such a nice vibe about it when we're trying to fit it into a factory complex like this. So yeah, we're definitely using this, and we'll place it right up against the road. So we've got this entranceway right up against it along the side there. And then we can also play around with the extension to it. So this is meant to be a rooftop one, but we use the static ploppable version of it. We can use Move It to sink it right down into the ground, which is perfect. Wonderful, wonderful and perfect all in one go. And then what we can do is add this onto the back of it here. So we need to fuse it in a little bit because space is at a premium. But if we also pull it out the front here, we can kind of cut off this side of the entranceway out here like this. And we got a little basement window, I suppose you could say, in the front there. And it just gives a little bit more footprint to this part of the building. But then we're not stopping there, because the other asset I really, really like is the Netherlands High School extension wing. Now the high school itself actually could work pretty well here, but it does say Hodge School on the front of it. So yeah, I don't like that part of it, but I love this extension wing. So we've obviously got the open side there, which needs to be sunk into the building, but we can absolutely do that. And this is such an interesting shape. I just really think it adds a really nice extra dynamic to the side of our building. So if we just get rid of that sort of edge to the balcony on the top there, and make sure we're not cutting off any windows unnecessarily either side, and pull it out a tiny bit further like that. That sits in really well, and it's got that element of different coloured bricks again, kind of similar to the paper factory. Like if we look around this, we've got bits of metal in here, we've got a more modern look to the front. So it definitely looks like it's been added to over time, and that's the sort of vibe that I want to get over here. Like I said, maybe it was once part of the paper factory, added over time, extended out into this area, and now it's been sold off into other uses. That's really what I want to try and achieve. But again, we're not stopping there, because if we take two of these, and we're going to have to use a bit of Move It for this, but if we take two of these and we get this one and we sink it into the side of this first asset, we again get such an interesting shape, like particularly with these blocks sticking out. We have the archway then on the end as well, which gives us a really nice interesting feature to work with too. So if we go like that, that seems to work both sides. Then you can kind of take a little step back and look at the scale of that. Like it's much bigger, it's much more interesting in the shape of it. And that's the other thing I was noticing when looking around Google Earth, particularly around the same area that we're taking inspiration from for the rest of Buril. There's lots of sort of weird shaped long buildings like this that I'm guessing used to be industrial buildings and have now been sort of, well, either abandoned, some of them actually look like, and maybe being converted over time. Or yes, already converted into other uses. So yeah, I love this. Adds a lot of scale. We've got some really nice areas to work with around it for some landscaping. Like I said, I think some of the parts we're going to make look quite smart, and then there'll be other areas of this that are a bit more run down. So I'm thinking probably this back building will make it quite smart, maybe offices, and use some of the block services to add to that to make it actually functional. And then more of this Netherlands Elementary School out the front, I think will make that a little bit more run down and less well kept, shall we say. So again, I think we can utilise some more of these assets in here too, because we've got enough space to do that. So we could bring out another one sort of slightly fused onto the back of our warehouse this side, potentially. And you know what? No, I'm not convinced of that now that I've put it in. So I think what we might actually do here is actually go for some more just generic industry, some actual proper industry buildings. So let's bring in a side access, and we can make this functional as well. This doesn't have to be a static ploppable here, but to give the effect of some garages or something here, I think would be quite nice. So yeah, one of these types of assets would work pretty well for that, I think. And that one has got a brick colour to it, if we're really sticking within our theme bounds. So let's just adjust this and see if we can get it to sit nicely in place. Which that isn't too bad. We're cutting off a bit of the window there, which is not ideal, and we can definitely extend that yard out the front. But that does give us some garages at the front, which is kind of interesting. We have got the annoying chimney here, which I don't mind. I mean, this is an industrial area, so maybe that's okay. But then if we're saying there's offices, I guess if it's offices, not residential, then maybe that's not too bad at the back there. I am wondering if we could utilise another one of these extension wings to fill into this space a little bit more too. So let's drop that down. So potentially something at an angle similar to our main building, make it a little bit more interesting here. And that works so nicely with those windows there. I am struggling to argue with this as an idea, so yeah. That works pretty nicely, I think. And then we've got lots of really nice angular buildings into here and lots of space to detail and play with around it. So like I said, I think we'll make this one a little bit more rundown and older down here. Add lots of lovely decals to that part. We'll make this a functional industry area, so detail that out appropriately. Definitely this building abandoned, I'm going to say. That's the vibe I want to go for there. Maybe some boarded up windows even. Some graffiti, that sort of thing. And then this area kind of smartened up, redeveloped at the back here, and perhaps they're coming down to redevelop the old, well, Netherlands elementary school further along the line. So yeah, that's the general positioning of those buildings. And I do want to give a little shout out to the amazing Razira, because I did not realise I didn't have their absolutely unbelievable Urban Decay decal pack. So we are going to be having fun with these when it comes to detailing. I mean, just look at this, so good. It's the stains I've been missing. I've been watching lots of other people play with these, or even this red book one as well. We can 100% utilise this in places too. Oh, and the crumbly one. Oh my god, look at that. Perfect. So yeah, thank you so much, Razira, for creating such amazing decal packs and surfaces. It's, yeah, we wouldn't be here without the modders. So much love for the modders out there. Thank you all. And let's just take a quick look at this, because yes, wow, we are making almost 90,000 a month. So we've gone from losing like 50 grand, was it? 40 grand, 50 grand a month to making 90 because we have an absolute ton of timber in there. So we're actually able to make paper. And I'm guessing that's thanks to this. Yeah, it's not storing much timber, so it must be transporting it all to our wonderful paper factory. I'm actually just curious. We have a look in here now. Still got an abundance of wood, of course. We've still got a huge deficit of timber though, and I think we're making a bit more paper than we were before. I think so. We're still at a deficit though. We'll check back later in the episode, but yeah, already hugely successful. Almost 100 grand in fact. Love it. But just before we come in and detail this first section of today's build, a quick word from today's video sponsor, which is Instant Gaming. If you're looking to expand your portfolio of DLCs for Cities Skylines II, look no further than my link to Instant Gaming in the description of this video right down below. Instant Gaming offers massive discounts on a whole host of games, including all of the Cities Skylines franchise, the entire Sims shebang, Planet Zoo and all of its corresponding DLCs, as well as many, many other games. So go and check it out and also help support the channel by using my link in the description below and bag yourself a deal. So that turned into a slightly larger project than I was anticipating, but here we go. We've got our little addition, I suppose it's not really that, to the paper factory, which we haven't detailed yet because this took so long. So we're going to do that in the next little detailing time lapse and just finish this off. But yes, over here we have completely changed the look of our metro yard shed thing. Storage warehouse is what we're going to call it, using RizzyRar's amazing crumbled brick decals here. Absolutely love this. Lots of stains, graffiti, boarded up some of the windows down this warehouse end. We've kept the rest of them actually open, as you can see down the side here and also on the side of the factory as well. I also actually removed a lot of the decals that I put onto this little industrial building here because I felt like I overdid it a bit. I still even look at this now and I'm like, yeah, it probably looks too grimy next to some of the rest of these buildings, but I don't know, a bit of grime never hurt anyone, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, pretty pleased with how that kind of sat in the end. I do absolutely love these decals. Having just got my hands on them, I went maybe a little bit OTT, but you gotta love it. Oh, the moss and the overgrowth in the corner. Great. And then of course over here we've got this side, which is kind of a bit of an interesting development. So in the end, I went for what I wanted to appear like an old building. So we have added some stains and the odd crack here and there, and just sort of general wear marks, so it doesn't look brand new, but definitely looks like it's been redeveloped here into a sort of small commercial courtyard is what I was going for. There's small businesses like art galleries, for instance, I was thinking could occupy this space, and I have plopped in some commercial zoning blocks into there. But yeah, it's all kind of centred around this sort of small backyard. Also did this little patch of detailing here where we can imagine that another building once stood, and this is the old cobblestone footprint of it that's now been cordoned off with some new trees planted, so just some young saplings because they haven't had the chance to grow yet. So yeah, I'm imagining this side of the building was old and decrepit and has now been converted into these sort of small commercial spaces. And then we've got this side of the building which is falling down and crumbling in front of our eyes, which is what I wanted to go for here. Now, of course, the decals that I used on these aren't really kind of reminiscent of brick falling apart. It looks more like sort of plaster. But I think from a distance, it does kind of look like some of the brick facing has maybe fallen off. And that's the type of thing that I wanted to achieve here. We also used some of these wooden pier pillars to represent some kind of scaffolding or safety scaffolding to stop the whole building from collapsing. But I didn't like the concrete bases on them. They looked too manufactured, so I had to sink them into the ground and then place cubes around the bottom of it to cover up that. And then we've just absolutely spammed it in rubble to cover up the look of the cubes, which was very unrealistic and unnatural. But yeah, it's I had so much fun doing this bit, as you can probably imagine. And I mean, when the modders give us so many incredible tools to detail with, it does feel like you're sort of creating art, and I get a little bit carried away, like these bushes up the side of the building here. But anyway, I think it kind of does give that effect of it's crumbling down. I don't know how realistic it is to be joined onto this other section of the building here, but I have seen buildings where part of it is disused and other parts have been renovated, so that's anyway the effect that we were trying to achieve there. And then of course we've got the older high schools at the back here, which aren't being used as high schools. It's a mixture of office. I think I've got some mixed zoning in here as well, and a little bit of commercial. So as you can see, we have got people walking all around it, which is pretty cool. I did see someone using the invisible footpaths over here, which I've actually set up to go through the doors of the building, which I thought was quite a nice touch, but I cannot see anyone using it right now. There's someone heading through the door here through the archway. They're going to pop out the other side. There they are. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, kind of pleased with this. I think it definitely looks like a smartened up area, at least around here with the surfaces that we've used. They've still got the old cobblestone in it, but it's been maintained and smartened up. And yeah, I love these assets so much. I want to use these for a halls of residence, I think, in a university in the downtown. I feel like they've got that vibe. Or definitely a larger complex utilising these amazing shapes on those buildings would be very cool. With some rooftop action stuff going on as well. Yeah, I think I'll enjoy that. Anyway, let's get on to the next part of today's build. which we're going to focus on this little space here. And one thing I did notice when I was searching around Google Earth was this little self-storage yard, which was just down the river a little bit from Venice Island that we've been taking inspiration from for Buril. So I thought this was quite appropriate to add in a little self-storage yard into this location here. And one of the key things I noticed was the entrance. It was a really tiny little car park with just a few spaces with a security entrance and a gate into the much larger yard. And we also have this larger building at the back, which I'm guessing is kind of internal locker storage versus, well, you know, smaller spaces versus actually having an entire garage for your storage to yourself. So, yes, that's what we're going to take inspiration from here. So to start off with, I want to get in the main entrance building and a small little entrance car park. So let's just draw out a road like this. And we're going to use the alleyway road because then we can cover it up with some lovely decals and that sort of thing. And then I think we're going to add spaces. Actually, thinking about it, let's do it the other way so we can use those diagonal spaces. They're just a little bit more space saving. So I feel like in a tight space like this where there's not very much parking going on, it feels a little bit more realistic in that sense. So yeah, we're just going to add a couple of these. I think that will probably do it. Yep, like that. And then looking at an office building, a functional one that we can actually use as the main entrance, I did find this one, which is a nice small little 2x2, which I think could work quite nicely in here. So let's just plop that into the road, and then I think I'm actually going to shift it along so it's facing here. We'll sort out the surfaces with a touch of detailing in just a second. We're definitely going to want to remove this lamppost because that's going to be in the way of our entrance road, which is going to go in here. And then what we'll do is we'll find a nice gate to put over the entrance road. I think we're probably just going to use this UK metal drive gate because it seems to fit the occasion pretty well, I would say. But one thing we could do with this is actually line it up so it looks like it's a slightly longer gate. Now, those are not perfectly positioned. So let's use a little bit of Move It just to line them up a bit better. Because then if we come in again and we search for pillars within props this time, we have got various pillars that we can use as kind of supports for this gate. So I'm thinking, let's just look at the size of the road. Probably like that is kind of suitable. And then hopefully what this can do is look like it's sort of sliding out or sliding across the road. So let's maybe grab this piece actually and move that up there. So it looks like it's sort of sliding out as people enter, if that makes any sense at all. A bit of a security gate. And what we will do as well is delete this fence. We'll put in our own fence around this, so the whole complex is going to be fenced in, not including the car park. So the car park will be open, then the rest of it will all be fenced in once we've placed it in the buildings. But that's kind of the general idea for that. I'm also going to trim off this sign because I'd quite like to get some of those big box or little boxes. Yes, little boxes. These are what I want here. So I think definitely some of this signage would be pretty cool. So we can add one by the entrance for sure. And then let's add a couple more around the building. A neon one, why not? Why not? And then perhaps we'll try a small one on the roof. It's a little bit more prominent from a couple of different directions. So maybe we add two of these actually aligned like that. But it stands out quite a bit. I'm not so sure about this sign here. Maybe we need a slightly smaller one, but we'll see how we go with the detailing. I'm also thinking as well, it might be quite nice to have some kind of huge billboard out here on the highway that people can see from all different directions. Like this one, for instance. Because then you'll be able to see it from the bridge, you'll be able to see it from low down on the highway too, and it's just quite good advertising for our little self-storage yard. Okay, so that'll do. And then for the back building where we're going to have the internal lockers, I'm thinking we're going to use an industrial, just static ploppable for this, so it won't be functional. If I do add roads in through this complex, then I may make it functional. But I think for the moment it will probably just be left as a static ploppable decoration style building. And I quite like this one. We've got one garage on the side of it, but we've got a little door in here. And this definitely looks like it could contain some smaller storage. We also don't have a door on the back on this asset as well. So I'm going to fence all the way along the back against the back of the medical centre there too. So I think that'll work quite nicely. And then for our storage garages, we are going to be using, of course, the Eastern European Small Fire Station Garage extension, because this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. We don't have any doors around it on any side, apart from the 2 garage door signs. We've got little windows on the back, which is fine, but this just fits. So what we want to do now is kind of go around and outline as many storage boxes as we can in nice shapes back to back. I think when you look at these places on Google Earth, they definitely look like they've crammed into the space and used every single morsel that they possibly can, so that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so that should do for that. And a ton of detailing, of course, to put in. Now, we're actually going to keep this area really nice and clean, because I did notice the area on Google Earth that I was looking at, and a couple of other self-storages that I've looked at as well, are really nicely maintained, as I can imagine they probably would be. There's not going to be any piles of trash. We're going to put a few sort of patch marks on the concrete flooring of the area, and some nice grass areas around it, but it's not going to be loads of stains. It's going to be nicely maintained. Might have a play around with some of the building colours as well to see if we can modernise it very slightly. But other than that, that's pretty much it. And then the final thing I do want to come on to today is down here, and that is building a road maintenance depot, because we actually only have one in the entire city, if you can quite believe that. So we have a look here. Yes, we've got one in Fewhaven Harbour, and that is it. That is it. Now, actually looking at this, the condition of our roads, they're not too bad, apart from the highways that obviously go off the map. Some internal roads. Most of the busy roads where we are having crashes are actually not too badly maintained, but it is absolutely high time that we got another one in, and I think this would be a good location for it, because we can add in an extra little slip road which can get them directly onto the highway and out into the rest of the city. So we're just going to do it in one direction, so any trucks returning to the maintenance depot would have to come via this interchange here. Of course, if they are actually on the highway network, but otherwise they can get straight out via this new slip ramp that we're going to put in as well. So let's place this in. I'm actually going to place this right in this back corner here, and it's going to push up the terrain a little bit, but that's okay. We can put it reasonably close to the paper factory like that. And we do have an upgrade for it, but it's just an internal upgrade, so we don't need to worry about that too much. It adds another 5 maintenance vehicles. Maybe worth having here. Yeah, let's have it. Let's have it. We've got the money, that's for sure. We're making almost 200,000 an hour. And our money has absolutely skyrocketed over the last couple of episodes, which is, of course, great to see. So yeah, let's have a road that comes straight across like that, which is going to provide access into the facility. And then if we just get our contour lines on, we can kind of bring this, I think, down the road like this. Hopefully that's not too steep. -12. We go a little bit further, -10. We'll go like that. We could actually add in an alternative direction here for anyone coming or going in this direction on this road. And then I would like to also add in a tiny bit more generic industry into this space as well, I think. So actually this back road here, we'll bring this down alongside the paper factory. We'll leave a little gap like that. And then we're going to add a couple more generic industry buildings into here. We've got a tiny bit of demand for it, despite the fact our unemployment is still pretty high. So I think a small little industry area out here might be quite a nice thing to finish this off with. And we could actually have a couple more slightly further back, like maybe one here. And this has got the security entrance on it, this asset. So I always think actually it's worth extending the backyard on this to make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, let's place this here, and then we could probably terraform out a small patch here to extend that out. Otherwise it's like, what's the point in having the security depot, unless they're making something top secret, of course. Perhaps it's that. We could just finish that off with a little cul-de-sac. We'll do the same thing down here as well, and then yes, we'll extend that yard out and just tidy up these spaces a little bit. Maybe add a bit of parking in somewhere as well for them. But it won't be too much there. And then let's come on to the little slip road. So I do just want this to literally bend around this way. So I think we're just going to use a really simple curve like this. Let's actually... I'm just going to do something disastrous like that for a second. If we actually use the 5-lane asymmetric and then just upgrade this section here, then we've got a kind of target node area that we can use to attach this road to. So something like that actually works pretty nicely. Then it can just take the road maintenance vehicles straight out there. We do need to do a bit of tidying up here with all of our crossings, etc. We definitely don't need all of these. Let's maybe leave one there, have one up that end, and then definitely take off these by the highway there. And then I think that will do. So yeah, we've just got another 2 areas now to finish up with some detailing and of course tidying up this factory and just making it a little bit more Fewladelphia-like, shall we say.
You might be the one that truly found me. I feel it too. might be the one that truly gets me. I feel it too. You might be the one that truly gets me. I feel it too. I feel it too. You might be the one that truly gets me. I feel it too.
Alright, so that is this segment of Buril complete. And let's just take a look at the self-storage to start off with. So I am absolutely in love with this little car park, I don't know why. I just think having that bit of dirt decals from the Real Vision decals pack just spilling over the edge, and then the amazing borders that we have here. These concrete decal borders that spill out onto grass. Oh, it looks marvellous. Marvellous, very pleased with that. Like how it's sort of tucked in. I moved the sign actually to the other side because I felt like that was a little bit more appropriate, although I'm seeing now this sign there I don't like. Let's chop that off. That's a bit better. And then this big sign overlooking the highway, of course, still there. Very dominant though. I'm wondering if it's a bit too big. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But anyway, it's come out pretty nice. Just really simple, plain concrete surface, using a few of these patch decals to create lines everywhere. I was kind of thinking maybe they introduced new electrics or something and had to dig up certain parts of it. This is sort of what I was noticing it was like on Google Earth. So I don't know. I thought it looked a little bit too patterned for me, but I quite like it actually. I think it's got a story behind it at least. Definitely they needed to lay some new pipes or electrics or something along those lines. Yeah, like I said, no trash or anything anywhere. We did use some stain decals in the end just to give it a little bit more wear, make it a bit older, and I actually decided not to change the colour of the garages, although I did sink them into the ground quite a bit with Move It, because when I came down to ground height, I realised they look way too big. Like, obviously they're meant to support a very tall, very big fire engine, and it just looked odd for a self-storage block. So this feels a little better being at this height, I think. So yeah, quite pleased with that. We added in some prop cars and vans around the place as if people were driving in and going to their self-storage lockers, I suppose. And then obviously fenced it all in. But yeah, super simple there. I did do a little bit of tidying up around the medical centre, so got rid of some of that manicured grass and replaced it with some of Gaga XM's amazing, more natural grass decals that sit nicely, a little bit translucent on top of our themed grass. A few trees here and there, and then tried to keep this border quite open. Again, I'm really trying to leave more open grass areas, and I do quite like this actually. I think it helps the self-storage to sit in nicely on top of this slight hill here as well. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. And then obviously our earlier area that we had a look at. Love this. Love it. I had so much fun. Anyway, when it comes to the paper factory, I really didn't do a lot. Like, I could have done a lot more detailing on this, but I kind of feel like it speaks for itself. And I'm kind of pleased with how it sits in with the areas we've done next to it. So I did obviously add in a bunch of stains, and maybe I've gone OTT. I've possibly gone OTT with the decals in this episode, but I quite like it. I really like how this looks actually with just these stains on the corners. Look like maybe there's been a leakage of some sort that's just stained the walls in those places. So yeah, quite pleased with that. I've just realised it is soft ends as well. I'm guessing that's a toilet paper factory. Yes, it is. You can see the bunny with the lovely soft toilet paper. Wonderful. So yeah, I really focused on the roofs, so the bigger perspective of the building sits in when you kind of zoomed out. I don't know how much time we'll really spend here on the ground in future. So I'm pleased with that. I did also remove the very heavily patterned, very heavily in a row trees around it, which really helped to make it feel a little bit more natural, I think. And then obviously just dirtied up the surfaces around it, but that was it. That was literally it when it comes to the paper factory there. And then down here, pretty similar. I've gone kind of low-key on the decals. I've realised there's something... I don't know why that's not showing up, but there is meant to be a production decoration in there. But either way, yes, we have a very simple industrial area here, a little bit of parking along the side of the road. Again, just a few more stains, mainly on the roof of our road maintenance depot. And then this yard up here with, again, a bit more parking outside. Made this into a bigger yard here with a reach stacker, a little container scanner and some containers in the back corner there. Just to make it feel a little bit grander here on top of this hill again. We've got lovely layers and height around Buril, which I'm really enjoying. Particularly if you come down here, all the way back down to, oh, we got some traffic there, the island. Just seeing that paper factory sitting up there in the background is really quite satisfying. And I think all of those brick buildings in front of it definitely adds a certain something to it as well. But there we go. That is our Buril paper factory, nicely settled in. And just to finish off, we'll take a quick look at productions and how it's doing. So if we take a look at this, we're making over 100,000 still. Wonderful. We've completely turned it around. And this one is making 407,000 in profit every month, which is crazy. Now I know that money, I don't believe, comes to us at least, but if businesses are profitable, then I'm guessing we get more tax revenue from it. Because really our hourly income hasn't changed across the course of this episode, so I don't know if it's really benefited the Citibank balance, but I'm guessing it's better for these businesses to be making a profit and more efficient for us. However, when we have a look in productions, you can see here we're still in a huge deficit of both paper and timber. So, I don't know, we've got some mega processing in for these, but we seem to have like a demand of 785 tons of timber. And in here we're just making 37 tons per month, which is pretty crazy. We do have an upgrade for it, which is the wood veneer production, which adds this building onto the back of the plot here, which I think we're going to place in. Yeah, we are. We are. So that should hopefully increase our timber production a bit, but it's nowhere near going to be making up for the deficit that we do have. So there's definitely something that we need to do there. We have an awful lot of traffic right now. I'm just seeing all the notifications popping up. Ah yes, it's still the bike traffic. Wonderful. I do realise I forgot to fix that at the start of this episode, so we will be coming on to that in the next one as well. But for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. And I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. Thank you all so much for being a part of this channel across 2025. Appreciate you all so much. But that's all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.